And bam, there's the next one on. Pike fishing here at Lake Ladoga. Yes, pike fishing at Lake Ladoga is for me the absolute classic for farming silver, but of course also to complete the current tasks. And by now, the wind is literally pushing me right into the reed edge. And at the reed edge, exactly there, that's where the pike are. And that's been the case for years. This spot here is where I already stood back when I was in this level range. So over 20 levels ago, over 20 years ago, I was already here, catching pike, especially on topwater, on surface lures. Bam, it was always worth it, fishing for pike here, and then of course, finishing coffee orders. Or of course, orders we have now in the anniversary tasks. All right, back up a bit, turn off the motor again, and set up again. Because these tasks, you can really do them excellently along this long reed edge here. That's really worth it. And I'm going quite slowly here at the moment. What you always have to test when pike fishing is the different retrieval techniques. What are the pike in the mood for right now? Look, that's one already, and that one's got a bit more power again. You just have to try it, you have to test it. Yes, and straight back out with it. And whoops, and the first ones are already on. I've been here for what, 7 minutes. The first fish was right away, almost 5 kilos, that's not bad. And for the tasks, we need to catch a fish weighing at least 10 kilos. So a 10-kilo pike we need to catch. And I also had my very first pike trophy here at the edge. So it's definitely worth testing it out here again and again. Looking at the map, we're down here and you can just decide where to set up. Do you set up here or over here? Maybe I'll even set up here because the wind is coming down from up here and keeps pushing me away. So even if you throw an anchor, we'll still keep getting pushed further in by the wind. So maybe here's an option. So the boat is basically up against the wall, right there, up against the edge. Yeah, I'll think about that in a second. And then I'll just cast along here. And yeah, then crank it through, do some jigging, stop and go, and so on and so on. So use different retrieval techniques to trigger the pike. You know what? Let's just go over there real quick. So sit down again, motor on, reverse gear. Otherwise, you can also set up really well right here. I usually cut the motor here already, and then you just drift. And then you can fish through here. But you can also cast along here. So this reed edge along here, definitely also a pike area again and again. You should definitely try that. If it doesn't work here, and just as classic of course, is also the area up there by the lighthouse. That's also a classic spot that you cast along here, or from up here, like from this position. Also, an absolute hot spot. Important. Now, of course, we're not just going to drive straight through the spot with the boat. I'll make a little arc around it because boats, of course, have a spooking effect, and we don't want that. We don't want to mess up our spot here, but I think this should already work out quite well. So, once again, motor off, and the rest will just drift bit by bit into place. And at some point, I'll end up against it because the wind is coming exactly from that direction. You can see that at the compass below. And so I'll just cast up ahead there, nice and easy. I've got way too heavy a setup on here, of course, like way too over the top, way too heavy a reel on the jerkbait. We'll take a closer look at the setup in a minute. I'm using a jerkbait here, but you can just as well do this with a regular spinning rod, casting rod, bam, try it, and then try surface lures. So with wobblers, look at that. The next one, almost 4 kilos. That's already looking really, really good. Wouldn't mind more of that, wouldn't mind more pike. And at the moment, I think they're more into a steady retrieve. So I'm cranking steadily too. Didn't even have to go further into the reed. Though, yeah, you gotta mix it up. Also depending on the time of day. The classic windows for pike, the bite windows, the bite times, are from around 6 in the morning to about 11, and then again from around 5 p.m. to about 11 p.m. Especially here at Lake Ladoga, that can definitely go until 11 p.m. or even a bit later because the night here is very short. So right into the reed edge. We have a really, really short night phase here, and we can also start again quite early. It can happen that the pike bite here from 5 a.m. already because it's already much lighter by then. And so we definitely have chances that the pike come in here. And then as I said, just crank it steadily. Right now I've got, bam, a stop and go retrieve going. So just briefly pause now and then while cranking slowly, straight back out. Or just classic, like around tempo 30, jigging a bit now and then. That works really well too. Bam, bam, bam. But also with that, take short pauses, pause now and then. And of course, the other option, which is also really simple, if you're struggling with the jigging motion, you set it to tempo 50, cast as far as possible, so depending on your rod's casting distance, so really cast it out to the edge, and then just use shift and tempo 50, press briefly in intervals, and that automatically gives you the jigging. But like I said, for me, the impression was that the fish prefer not jigging right now, but maybe more of a steady retrieve. And for that, I'm actually going to change the hook again. This lure here, F12, this series, it's floating, so floating bait. This series works. And what I tested a few months ago at Corey is that hooks without feathers on wobblers work significantly better. And that's why I'm putting different hooks on here now. And since we're after pike, I'm actually going with 6-0 hooks here. These are from the sea, taken from the sea, mounted on the jerks, F12. Here it is, and I'm using a 45 kilo steel leader here. You can also use fluorocarbon, of course. I'd say at least 35 kilo fluoro. But even with that, you're not 100% safe from pike bite-offs, so it can still happen that the pike cuts through. That's why I'm using a 45 kilo steel leader here. My target fish is pike only, so I'm just cranking steadily again here. Let's just go with tempo 5, really nice and easy. And then let's see if we can't get a really big fish on. Now, in terms of the time of day, we're a bit in the tough hours, kind of the midday, but I think around 5 or 6 p.m., things will really pick up again. And here comes another small one. Yeah, what also happens regularly, of course, is when you're fishing with surface lures, the pike shoots up, goes for the lure, but the hook effect isn't quite there yet. That often happens when your drag is still set too tight. That often happens when the pike shoots up from below, grabs the lure, but then has to turn around again to dive down. At that moment when it turns around, if you're already striking or if you're cranking and the hook basically pulls out of the mouth, then you often get those slip-offs. What can help with that is to set the drag really loose. I'm running a drag of 5 here, so very, very low. That means even bigger pike can come in, have the chance to release the drag and swim away at first. And then the hook set comes. Only when they really swim off, that's when I slowly tighten the drag. And before that, like I said, I keep the drag loose so the pike can come up from the depths, turn their long body, and only then swim off. That's when I start reeling. Yeah, I'll keep at it a bit longer here. It's already 11 p.m., a few pike have come in, but the really big pike is still missing, so I'll have to keep at it a bit. I've already tried out a few different lures in between, but the one that seems to work best right now is the Ripper Jerk F106. So I'll stick with that for now, and probably try it again tomorrow at the lighthouse down here. So if a lure works at one spot, it often works at another. If this was helpful for you, leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, that really helps me a lot, and then I'll see you in the next video or in the live stream. Until then, tight lines.